You want a good second act? You gotta break your main character and then break them again. And Black Panther is a great example of this. And we're in the middle of a series where we break down film structure using Black Panther, so it's fitting that today we're not just breaking down the structure, we are looking at how the film breaks the main character as well. If you want to watch this series from the beginning, click here. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, all that fun stuff. I really do appreciate it. And YouTube likes it, and it helps others find this channel. So thank you for doing that. Let's jump in. The easiest way to break down the structure of Act 2 is to use what are called sequences. Now, I have a video on sequences in the queue. It's one coming up, so I'm not going to go too deep into the weeds here. And the complete guide of story structure has a whole chapter devoted to sequences. If you haven't downloaded that 100% free guide, you'll want to do that. The link is below in the description. There's some other links there that you might find helpful, so be sure to check those out if anything is of interest to you. Simply, a sequence is a series of scenes that belong to someone and center around an event. Now, the best way to articulate a sequence is to phrase it as a question. I want to first use Star Wars and the sequences of that second act, because you might be a little more familiar with it, and then we'll deal with the ones in Black Panther. So hopefully this will help make sense. Now, the other thing that's really helpful in identifying sequences is understanding what the main tension is, and we've talked about that. So for Star Wars, I mentioned in the first video of this series what the main tension is of Star Wars. Here it is again. Will Luke Skywalker return the droids to the rebellion, or will the Empire discover them? So the sequences are all of the major movements of trying to do that thing. Okay, it's Luke's story. So it's all about, will Luke try to do these things? So the first step is, will we get the droids off the planet? Will Luke get the droids off of Tatooine? That's the first sequence of Star Wars in the second act. The next sequence, the second step, will Luke deliver the droids to Alderaan? Okay, like the video said that R2 played. Well, Alderaan's been blown up, and that's a moon. Oh, wait, now we're captured. Okay, so hopefully you're kind of seeing how this is kind of playing out. It's a big, broad thing. Will Luke deliver the droids to Alderaan? We get there, Alderaan's blown up, and now there's a little shift, right? The next sequence of Star Wars. Will Luke rescue the princess? Finds out the princess is there. Can we rescue her? Okay, Obi-Wan's off trying to, release the tractor beam so they can escape. So they're going to go try to get Princess Leia. The fourth sequence, will Luke escape the Death Star with the droids and the princess? So will they get away? And then the second act ends when the droids are delivered to the rebels. Like, yay! Okay, then we're in the third act. Now, hopefully that's a good primer here. So now let's talk about Black Panther, the sequences of Black Panther's second act. Remember the main tension of Black Panther. Will T'Challa protect Wakanda by keeping his throne, or will he lose it? Okay, so the first step is capture or kill Claw, right? So will T'Challa capture or kill Claw? And this is all of the stuff that's in South Korea. And yes, they capture, okay? But the CIA helped, so they're now calling the shots at the moment. The next sequence, will T'Challa return Claw to Wakanda? Well, nope, he doesn't. Eric breaks him out, and then Eric does what T'Challa could not do. He kills Claw and takes the body to Wakanda. So just think about that for a second. The thing T'Challa wanted to do as king is something that Eric does, and he's not yet king. So it's all related. This, will T'Challa keep his throne, right? The next sequence, will Eric literally take the throne from T'Challa? Well, that answer is yes, and it includes throwing T'Challa's body over the waterfall. The last step, the last sequence, will Nakia get help from the Jaburi? Yes, they do, and no, they don't. Okay, T'Challa's alive, they found him, but they're not going to help. Okay, T'Challa is all alone at this point. And those are the sequences, the big sequences of the second act. That's how the second act is put together. The sequences help tie things together, and they all relate to the main tension, which really connects and pulls everything in the second act together. So knowing the main tension really helps you to kind of build out the structure of your story. And then you can break it down into sequences. Most movies have 4, some have 5, some have 6, some have 3, just depends on the story, but usually not more than 6. Most movies, 4 sequences. And here's why sequences are helpful. It's because they can help you identify when you need the important elements of the second act, because we're talking about structure. So when do you need important structural moments? Well, they tend to come at key moments in the sequences. And so it helps to know what the sequences are so you can know what those key moments are and where you need to kind of focus your attention on some key moments to make a story work. Now, I just mentioned that there are typically 4 sequences in most second acts. There's 4 sequences in Black Panther's second act, 2 in the first half, 2 in the second, and then there's something that happens in the middle. Okay, and if you're familiar with any structure, anything, this is the midpoint. So we're actually going to deal with the midpoint first. Okay, so it's the thing that kind of happens in the middle. And this is where we really start to break our main character. Okay, they've been a little tested up to this point, but once you kind of get to the midpoint, you're going to really start breaking them. At least in the story of Black Panther and how it plays out. Now, every story is different, so don't just think like, oh, I gotta start breaking my character, because sometimes your character is succeeding. We don't want them to win, right? And it's kind of a sad ending or depressing ending or very thoughtful or introspective ending. Black Panther is kind of introspective, but not in that way. It's very celebratory, right? So, because he wins. So if he's gonna win at the end, we gotta break him in the middle. So we're going to start breaking him really heavy at the midpoint. And if you step back, what are the things, and you just start thinking about this story, what are the things that can happen to T'Challa as king to lose support and to lose his kingdom? Like, what are the things that could happen here? Well, one, he could suffer a political defeat, something he promised he would do that he doesn't do.
Our mission was to bring back Claw. We failed. This man is a foreign intelligence operative. How do we justify bringing him into our borders?
He took a bullet for me.
That was his choice.
So now we are just supposed to let him die?
Let us consider that we heal him. It is his duty to report back to his country. And as king, it is your duty to protect
I'm well aware
ours.
of my duties, General.
As king, he could also suffer a personal defeat. Maybe a friend turning his back on him.
Where is Claw?
He's not here. He slipped through our hands.
Slipped? For 30 years, your father was in power and did nothing. With you, I thought it'd be different. But it's more of the same.
He could also suffer some public humiliation because of a government conspiracy and government cover-up.
So, your uncle betrayed us.
No.
He helped Claw steal the vibranium.
No.
You will return home at once, or you will face the council and inform them of your crimes.
He drew his weapon on me. Your father killed his own brother to save my life.
And the child.
We left him.
And then what do you have left? Kill his family, take his throne, take his life. Those are coming later. We can't do all of them at once, but we can definitely really start breaking T'Challa at this moment. And so if these are the things that we can do, okay, so if we've listed all these things, like these are the things we can do, let's start breaking them. The midpoint, we're gonna get a bunch of them, like back to back to back. I just showed you clips. Those are all within about 5 minutes or so of the movie with each other, okay? Boom, boom, boom. Political defeat, personal defeat, government conspiracy that my dad was a part of, and I really looked up to my dad. I want to be like my dad, but now I'm not so sure. I mean, this is... It's breaking him, okay? And while the king is learning things and being broken in the process, We also know, more dramatic irony, we also know that Eric is getting closer and closer to the throne. T'Challa doesn't know that yet. He doesn't know he's in trouble. We do. And yet, he keeps getting broken again and again. Now, one goal of the Midpoint is to begin shaping your main character into who they need to be by the end of the story. I mean, early on in the story, T'Challa isn't going to share Wakandan knowledge with the world. He's not going to. The prologue even says, are we still hiding? Yes, we're still hiding. But here, he's starting to realize that he just can't sit idly by either. He doesn't want to let Ross die. He wants to help him, but what can he do? He's wrestling. He's torn, right? There's got to be another way. And it's important to point out here a truth about us as people here, okay? So understanding truths about people actually helps make you a better writer. So here is one that will really help you. The thing about people is we only change. We only do things different when it hurts too much to stay the same. If it starts to cost us more, it hurts more to stay as we are, now we will change. But most people don't change on their own. They only change as a result of pain and of being broken. So the only way you're going to force your characters to change and to go on the arc that they need to go on is to start to punish them, to break them. And only in the breaking will they figure out who they really need to be to become. They're not going to understand that just going along. You've got to break them. You've got to make them hurt, because only when the pain to change is less than the pain to stay will people change. And you want your characters, you want to force your characters into this change. So you have to break them. You have to punish them. You have to make them hurt. Now, I mentioned also that sequences help us figure out some other key points along the way, okay? Some other key moments that we have to understand, okay? And in fact, if you think of sequences, when you start looking at them, you can actually kind of look at sequences as their own mini stories. Each sequence has an act 1, an act 2, and act 3. So there's kind of like a main tension for the sequence, okay? And there's a little bit at the beginning, status quo. We're trying to do something, little new status quo, but the sequence is still next to this one, and they're all trying to do this other big thing. So you can kind of start to break it down. If that helps you to kind of break it down into smaller pieces, it might help you structure your story a little easier. But let's look at the Seoul, Korea sequence here. Will T'Challa capture or kill Claw? So that's all of this, okay? So what happens, the act 1 of this sequence, so let me just break this down a second. The act 1 of this sequence is T'Challa and his team arrive in Seoul and they case the place, right? They get in, they're around, they're casing the place, they're waiting for Claw to arrive. Act 2 of this sequence begins when Claw arrives. Okay, so Claw's there, we're going to try to do this. The deal goes sideways, there's a shootout, there's a fight, there's a chase through the streets. Ultimately, we catch Claw. That's the end of that second act of the sequence. The third act is the interchange between T'Challa and Claw, where Claw is taunting him.
Oh, mercy, King, mercy.
Every breath you take is mercy from me.
Hi, Kumkani. Elizwe Jongile.
Come on, guys, let's go, huh?
But here's this great moment. The world is watching. So T'Challa has to settle for capture. He doesn't want to, but he has to. Now, in every story, we like us some good twists, right? Like, we like these tightening of the screws. We like things going in a new direction. T'Challa wanted to kill him? Nope. Capture. It's a twist. It's a different angle, right? We got to go on a new trajectory. And you can do that in a couple of ways. You can punish your main character. We've talked about that. Those are always great moments. You can also deny your main character something they want. Okay, so T'Challa wants to kill Claw, but he can't do it. We're going to deny him that here. So that's going to create a little twist, right? Change of direction. You can also deal a defeat to your main character. You can reveal new information. Okay, so just new information sends the story in a new direction. Anytime any of those happen, there's a few others, right? But these are the main ones. Anytime anything like that happens, those are called twists. Now, twists tend to happen at the end if you're looking at a sequence, at the end of the second act of that sequence or the beginning of the third, somewhere right in there. So in this sequence, it's when T'Challa is with Claw and wants to kill him, but he can't because the world is watching. That's the twist, okay? That's the moment something happens. If he could have killed him, done, but no, it's denied. These twists, okay, these little twist moments are two of the other main parts of Act 2 of our whole story structure. So if we're talking story structure, we need these twists. We need things to go in a new direction, in an unexpected direction. And they typically come in the first sequence of Act 2 and the third sequence of Act 2. So remember, there's 4. Okay, so midpoint's here in the middle. Okay, midpoint's here in the middle. End of the first sequence, we got a twist. End of this third sequence, we got a twist. Midpoint's here. Okay, so hopefully that helps make sense a little bit. In structural terms, they're not really referred to as twists per se. They're often called a pinch. So pinch 1 and pinch 2. Okay, so creative, right? Pinch 1 is when T'Challa can't kill Claw. The next sequence, right? The next sequence of the second act usually gets us to the midpoint where we're punishing and breaking our main character. That definitely happens in Black Panther. The next sequence is Eric is there and challenges the king and they fight. And pinch number 2 is when T'Challa gets thrown over the waterfall. So remember we talked about the things that could break T'Challa. We listed several things, but there were 3 that didn't happen yet. Okay, and the 3 that didn't happen were we didn't take his throne, we didn't kill T'Challa, and we didn't kill somebody or threaten somebody of his family. So we haven't done any of those 3 yet. But pinch number 2 does 2 of those. Okay, there's 1 more remaining. Hold on, because that one's going to show back up. But pinch 2 does both of those, right? It takes the throne and we think that he's dead. Now, we kind of know, because we're smart moviegoers, that this is a movie called Black Panther. He's the Black Panther, so he's probably not dead yet. We hope. Okay, I hope you're still hanging with me. I mentioned earlier there's 5 kind of main parts of Act 2, and we've mentioned 3 of them. Pinch 1, the midpoint, and pinch 2. Now there's 2 more that are really important. Before I get to those, if you're finding value, please like, subscribe, all that stuff, leave a comment. I really, really do appreciate it. Okay, the other 2 typically happen pretty close together. So sometimes there's a little bit of space, sometimes not so much, and they're typically in the last sequence of Act 2. The first of those is plot point 2. Now, if you remember, plot point 1 is a decision by the character to engage in the quest. So we're going to start this thing. Plot point 2 is another decision, but it's a decision to finish the quest. We're going to push forward no matter the cost, okay? No matter what happens, we're going to move forward. In this case, T'Challa is alone. M'Baku will not help him.
You know I could use an army as well.
I bet you could. But no.
But T'Challa is going forward, right? We've seen he's make this decision. He's going to go forward.
The Black Panther lives. And when he fights for the fate of Wakanda, I will be right there beside him.
As will I.
I'm in too. What? You're gonna need all the help you can get.
Now, these clips I just showed you are after the decision is made. So I'm showing them to you because I want you to just kind of see, like, okay, here's some stuff that can kind of happen after the decision is made. The decision is actually made in T'Challa's vision. Okay, so when he is kind of brought back to life and given back the powers of the Black Panther, he has this to say.
Why didn't you bring the boy home?
He was the truth I chose to omit.
You were wrong to abandon him.
I chose my people. I chose Wakanda. Our future depended
You
on...
were wrong! All of you are wrong! To turn your backs on the rest of the world! We let the fear of our discovery stop us from doing what is right. No more. I cannot stay here with you. I cannot rest while he sits on the throne. He is a monster of our own making. I must take the mantle back. I must right these wrongs.
In that moment, the decision is made. Okay, the audience, we have to see the decision being made. We've got to see plot point 2. We've got to see the decision. Just like we saw the decision at plot point 1. We're going to go get Claw. Okay, I've got to see the decision at plot point 2. I'm going to right this wrong. We need to know that the protagonist is all in. This helps get us on their side because we understand what it's cost them to this point. We've watched them be broken and broken and broken, and they've got nothing left to lose, so they think. I mean, he lost Eric once, right? They already fought. He lost. He could lose again, but it doesn't matter. And that decision helps propel us to the answer of the main tension. The answer of the main tension is what is called the culmination. And this is the other key moment of Act 2. This is the end of the second act. It's where everything has been leading to. T'Challa wants to continue the challenge, right? Let's fight 101. It's kind of like that scene in movies where the person's like, hey, let's put our weapons down and let's actually fight, you know, and you just kind of wish one of them would just shoot the other one, right? And sometimes that happens and it's really satisfying.
I always told you, you'll be ready the day you can knock me down as yourself. This is that moment. This is that moment, Beers. Turn off the light show and prove to me you can beat me without the...
But this is really kind of what Eric does. He shuts it down. T'Challa's like, hey, challenge isn't over. Like, let's keep fighting. And Eric is like, nope, I'm king now. You've lost the throne. And we get an answer to our question. The throne is lost at this point. T'Challa is basically alone. Yes, he's got a couple other people helping him, but it's a whole new thing now. He's kind of on his own at this moment, at least for a second. Then some other people kind of help, but that is what is part of Act 3. And in the next video, we're going to pull apart Act 3 for Black Panther, and we're going to talk about theme, which is one of the reasons that Black Panther is so well loved by critics and moviegoers alike. So I hope you will join me for that discussion. If you haven't yet downloaded the free complete guide to story structure, make sure you do that. I promise it's going to help you. It's like 100 pages of awesomeness. I'm just talking in little videos. That's a massive thing. So it's a great resource for you, totally free. Be sure to check it out. There's also some other resources, depending on where you're at in your journey as a screenwriter, you might find of interest to you. Hopefully all of this has been helpful. Please like, subscribe, bell, all that stuff. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for watching. And when you go to tell a story that matters. See you later.